Hello, folks. Good evening. How are you? Hope you've had a fantastic week so far. Hope everybody has been keeping safe, maintaining a safe distance, washing your hands, and wearing a face mask as much as you can. COVID-19 is still very real. Spikes happening all over. Here in Ireland, where I am, unfortunately now they've increased the lockdown, so we'll still have to manage the circumstances, but life still goes on, work goes on, business goes on as much as possible. Everybody is trying to do what they can and try to maintain a civil lifestyle. People are looking around and still trying to figure out what to do. Some people are already talking post-COVID, and we don't even understand what that means just yet, because what is post-COVID? Nobody has any idea whether this is ever going to go away. Maybe it's going to end up being like, the flu, where, we might just have to live with it for the rest of our lives and just manage it. Life changes. Life is very, very dynamic. And in Africa, fortunately or unfortunately, it has brought to the fore a lot of the issues and the challenges that we have on the continent, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. We have seen where a lot of African countries are not able to manage this, situation adequately. Most obvious because of, bad governance. The issue of bad governance has been going on and on and on and on and on. We've had two previous guests from the political, circles, and both of them more or less said the same thing. It's all at the foundation. That is where the initial trouble is. So, I don't know whether I should call it coincidence, but tonight we have somebody, who has suffered that issue immensely. As a matter of fact, he's made a lot of noise about it. He's gone from the High Court to the Appellate Court to the Supreme Court to challenge, how his mandate was stolen, from what he has said and from what the papers have brought out and from what, all the electoral documents that have been put out, over time. And you get to wonder, why you would have such issues where popular candidates are the ones that just, don't get the ticket or the mandate, of the party, even though they get the mandate of the people. Now, one of our previous guests said, if the best candidates can't get there, then how do you get good governance? So tonight, we're going to really, really talk about that in depth. Our guest tonight is somebody who doesn't pull his punches. He says it the way it is. He suffers fools very, very gladly, because as far as he's concerned, you need to stand up for whatever you believe in at every point in time. And that's what he has always done so far. His name is Alhaji Usman Tuggar, and he was the senatorial candidate for Bauch North for the APC in the last elections. Alhaji Usman Tuggar, it's good to see you.
Hi, Habib. Thank you for having me on. It's a great pleasure.
It's absolutely our pleasure. Absolutely our pleasure.
Come on and have a chat with you.
It's always a delight to have a conversation with you, because people think that you don't have intelligent people in Nigeria simply because, we have this, this stigma that's flying everywhere in the world, where everybody thinks that every Nigerian is a hush puppy like kind of fellow,
But it's unfortunate. We're getting quite a bad name when we have so many people that are doing so good out there. A lot of
exceptionally well, all over the world. Nigerians are the most educated immigrants anywhere you go in the world.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Especially in the medical sector. If you go to abroad, it's Nigerians all the way. Really.
All the way. And they do so well that you now start to wonder that if they can contribute so much, to their new host communities, why do we have the challenges that we have back in Nigeria? Why do we have the brain drain? Why do we have the insecurity? Why do we have the lack of electricity? Why do we have the lack of infrastructure? So we had a guest on last week, and he said something. He said that the issue actually starts from internal democracy in the political parties. Coincidentally, the previous guest before him said exactly the same thing. Now, these are two men from two different parts of the country. One from the north, the core north, one from the core south.
Yeah.
And they had the same challenge. They were ripped off when it came to, achieving their political ambitions through, they were thwarted by internal, democracy in the parties. You also have suffered something similar to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what is intriguing about it is this. You come from a strong political family. Your father was, the organizing secretary of the ruling NPC back in the days in Nigerian People's Congress. And he also was successful. He was also a senator. And you wanted to follow in your father's footsteps. So now, if somebody of your stature, of your political stature, of your intelligence, of your educational background can go through this type of, I don't know what to call it. Whether it's a rip-off, whether it's theft, I have no idea what you could call it. If somebody like yourself can go through something like this, what hope does the common man have of achieving a political ambition to try to contribute his own quota to changing the dynamics in Nigeria?
Well, I would have to say very slim hope after a very long period of time in the political arena, because I think I went into full-blown politics in, I think, 2006 in AMPP.
Okay.
I was an AMPP member, after which I ran for elections in 2011 for the House of Reps. We were bullied then in the CPC, obviously, in Bauchi.
Oh, wow.
By the PDP then. And we won, in quotes.
In quotes, yeah.
Whatever happened, and the PDP did what they did. Now, we always believed firmly that, change was coming, and we stuck to our guns and we kept going. And change did finally come with the APC coming together and winning elections in 2015. Now, as an ardent supporter who had gone through all that, I was of the firm belief that things had actually changed and internal democracy would take place.
Yeah.
Which is why I contested the Senate in the last elections, won my primaries. I won 6 out of 7 local governments, and then it was what has transpired. Nobody has come out to say to me, okay, you know what, this is what happened, or we took it away and gave it to. So, I mean, it leaves you, wondering. It gives you, it doesn't give you hope for the future. It's quite disturbing, actually.
Wow, you say it doesn't give you hope for the future. I'll refer back.
Quite disheartening, because, for democracy to have come this far, from 1999 till now, and we had been throwing punches at the opposition, PDP, saying they didn't have internal democracy, they were doing things that were wrong, we are more, a better party to go with, cleaner, better vision, and so on and so forth, thinking that we would actually, make democracy within the party stick. Because we were seeing these things going on in the PDP when they were ruling. Now we get to power and we come and do the same thing, or should I even say maybe worse? Because in the PDP, at least they would call you and tell you, okay, you know what, we already have somebody that will take this slot, so step down. Nobody ever said that to us that contested that election. And unfortunately, it happened in a lot of other places. As you can see, these are the reasons why we lost a lot of states. We lost Zamfara because of lack of internal democracy within the party. We lost Adamawa. We lost, so many places, a lot of this is something that has happened to a lot of people. I'm not the only one, unfortunately.
Yeah. So now, why do you think there is that challenge of internal democracy in those political parties?
Well, the issue is that I think what happens is that when you're trying to win elections, you carry along a lot of people, and win that election, you appease everybody, and everybody's happy, and there's internal democracy. But once the elections are won, there is a different ballgame. I mean, they feel more powerful, and so on and so forth. So these are the causes of those problems, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, there are other things that come into play. In my own instance, it's glaring. It's right there. You can see it.
What was truly shocking about your own situation was the gap between yourself and Mohamed Bolkachua, who eventually was given the, I don't know if I should call it the mandates, because sometimes, when you say some words, you bring some certain things to life. Yeah. So now there was a disparity of 71,000 to roughly 16,000 or thereabouts.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, there was also, a picture of you online, where you were being handed, the forms for you to fill and all whatnot for you to contest the elections.
Absolutely, yeah.
Then they just did not announce your name.
Yes, well, what happened is we concluded the primaries at the headquarters. Results were supposed to be returned to Azare, which is the headquarters of the Northern Zone. Yes. And then the guys that were supposed to collect the results simply disappeared. So the people that returned with the results didn't know who to give them to. So they had to go to Bauchi to submit them. And those guys just refused to correct the results. And, the sheets were all there. They took them to INEC. Obviously, you've seen online, there's a document from INEC stating that I actually did win the election. But APC just never announced me. They never reached out to me till tomorrow. Nobody has said anything to me pertaining this election. I went to see the then chairman, Adams Oshomole. I said to him, look, I won my elections in the Senate, my primary elections, and I've not been announced. Nobody has said anything to me. I don't know what's going on. So I would like for you to explain to me what's going on. And he looked at me, and then he said that the senatorial elections are today, instead of the day that we held them, which was the day before. So I said to him, but today is House of Reps primary elections, So he looked at me again and he says to me, it's today. And he just runs off like a little kid. And that was the last I saw of him.
There are some things that you hear about, but you never see. And this is one of them. I asked a friend, a long time ago, that have you ever seen, a man with no feet put his best foot forward, or a man with no hands shake hands?
Absolutely.
Quite a few people, have said some worrisome things about the past chairman of the APC, Adams Oshomole. Now, do you think that he has a personal vendetta against you, or that was just his nature?
Well, I think they must have just sat down and thought that the person they gave the ticket to is somebody that can influence a lot of things for them. And that is why they decided maybe to go with him. Because I see no reason why they would do that except for political reasons and some certain things that they figured might help them, in the elections that were going to take place following the primary elections, which is quite unfortunate, So, but you see, the most worrisome thing about all of this is that what we face is a huge moral decadence, where you would see somebody in his 60s and 70s would sit down and just blatantly lie to your face and not really care about morality. We've lost a lot of moral standing in the country, which is quite unfortunate. This is somebody that is supposed to be highly respected. I mean, somebody that has held office, I mean, coming from way back, somebody that is an LLC chairman, somebody that is a two-time governor. I mean, this is somebody with high standing in society. So it's not somebody that is just another riffraff off the streets, So this is something that is a disturbing feature in our country. People that you have high regard for, have lost a lot of morality. Because I would have expected somebody like that to look at me in the face and say, I'm so sorry, but this is the stand we have taken. Even before then, they could have called me in and said, look, we've taken a stand. This guy is the person we're going with. I mean, it's not a do or die affair. I'm only in politics to help my people. And, if you had told me step down, I would. Being a loyal party person, I mean, it's not a do or die thing for me, really. It never has been. I'm just worried about the condition my constituency is in. According to UNDP reports, my area in Bauchi State is the poorest in the country. So it's quite a disturbing.
It is, and I found that a bit worrisome myself, considering the fact that one of the most eminent people to have ever come out of Nigeria's history, is the late Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa.
Absolutely.
And he was from Bauchi.
Bauchi South, yes. Tafawa Balewa.
Now, you would have thought that for somebody of that standing to have come out of that area, that a sense of deep democracy would have been instilled in that, community. Now, is it a case of it's the national APC that actually has the issue, or the state APC?
It's the national APC because, this goes beyond the state APC, really. And in most cases, the state APCs take instructions from the national. National are the ones that organize primary elections, So the state just follows guidelines, rules, and the people that are actually sent from the national. So it has not that much to do with them.
That's absolutely terrible. Now, this is a trick. This might sound like a trick question.
Sorry, these are great men, of high moral caliber.
Yeah, exactly.
These was straightforward, righteous men that, you cannot catch them in these kind of dilly-dallyings. These are, you cannot even compare that. They did their own thing during their time. They did well. You can go back in the records and see the kind of achievements that they were able to pull. Pulling off independence is one of them, and it's the largest thing that you can ever think of. So they have done their part, and then unfortunately, this is where we find ourselves today. Where even laws only work when your society has some sort of moral standing.
Oh yes,
laws only work for people that have a conscience and have morality. This is it. If all the laws that you can look for in the world are there, they're in our constitution, is enshrined, and so on and so on. But people break them. So if you have no morals or some sort of dignity and moral standing, you cannot follow those laws. They cannot work for us. This is why our laws do not work, unfortunately.
So you had there are a lot of there are a lot of questions around your mandates. So many questions. And when you mentioned the law, I will still get back to that as well, because there was something that, I found rather curious about the legal aspects, of you trying to claim your mandate. But before we get to that, now, your manifesto was quite effective looking on paper, as opposed to your opponent, who was given the mandate eventually. Now, some people said that obviously your manifesto should have been, much more effective on paper, because you were younger, you were more dynamic, as opposed to himself, even though he's supposed to have had, much more experience than yourself. But there was an argument somewhere along the line, which was a case of sometimes what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
You were in support of somebody who is in the old guard, who happens to be the president at this point in time. So if the old guard now refuse to step aside and let the young guard take over, why should you complain at the end of the day?
Well, like I told you, I'm in full support of the president. I mean, I've been an ardent supporter and follower of the president since I joined the AMPP in 2006, I think 2005. I always believed in him coming in and doing the right thing and turning things around, because I felt at that point that things were actually getting out of hand and we needed somebody to come on with that kind of experience from a military background. Because if you can remember, we were having major security issues at that point.
Oh, yeah.
We thought it was really bad then. We didn't know it was going to get this bad. So this was our main issue back then. Bringing somebody, we thought that there was too much going on in the country. You had the insecurity, you had corruption, and so on and so forth. So we actually, for us, it was a course. Anybody then that was in ANPP and CPC and APC was a firm, it was a course, it was a movement. It wasn't just political, let's grab power. No, it wasn't. We believed in it. We put in our energy, our effort, our money. And financially, nobody was financing us. If you remember, we were in the opposition. So we believed in it. Now, in my own case, the guy being an old guard kind of thing, for me, when my mandate was taken away, if I didn't have thousands of people that came out, followed me, and actually did vote for me to win this election, I would not have gone to court, But you see, politics is a very dirty game. If at that point I had not gone to court, obviously the rounds would be, everybody would say that I'd been given money, which is why I did not go to court. I did not follow their mandate. I would lose a lot of support from my followers. They would assume that, okay, somebody just goes around and says, oh, they gave him 500 million, which is why he didn't go to court. He sold our mandate, we suffered for it, and so on. So I needed to follow these steps all the way to the Supreme Court to show everybody that, look, your mandate that you believed in me and followed me for, I fought for it all the way to the Supreme Court. Now at the Supreme Court, this is where the buck stops there, and I've done it all the way to the Supreme Court. So that's all I've done,
Going to the Supreme Court. Before you got to the Supreme Court, you went to the High Court.
I went to the Federal High Court, Abuja. Yes.
Abuja. You went to the High Court, and your case refused to be heard on a technicality. They said you did not file within the 14 days of the statute.
Supposedly, yes.
Like I said, they said. So they said you did not file within the 14 days of the statute. Now, yes. I'm not a lawyer, and my knowledge of the law, especially when it comes to the electoral law, is quite limited. But you made mention of something. You said on merit, at least they should have heard.
Absolutely, they should have. You see, it's a double-edged sword. When we went into the APC primaries from inception, you could sense there's always going to be foul play because APC as a party never gave anybody documents saying that you have been screened successfully.
Really?
So you have no document saying you have been screened. Yes, we were all screened, but nobody gave us documents to say you've been screened. Meanwhile, PDP gives you a document, a certificate saying you have been screened and cleared before you even go for the primaries. Okay? Now, you go for the primaries, and if anything happens, there's supposed to be an appeal panel. Now, this appeal panel, you have to write to them with your complaint. So this complaint document that I used to write to the APC for the appeals, because you can't just jump the appeals and go to court without first appealing to the party.
Right. Okay.
Writing to the appeal panel is what the court said, okay, you wrote on this date and you've come to court on this date. So what is the point of the appeal panel?
So there's a duplication of duties, and it seems like
thank you. It's just a catch-22. You understand? So it's either you go to the appeal panel or you go to court, but there's always something. I always knew it was an uphill task, because I knew who I was facing. So
okay.
I went to the courts, but I really didn't expect much. But I wanted to appease my constituents, and I wanted to do it for myself, to clear my name, so that nobody says it was a financial inducement that took place and I threw away the mandate. So I did the rightful thing.
You did do the rightful thing, because at least you put your stakeholders into consideration, because they had faith in you, and that was why they gave you their support, and they wanted you to represent them.
Yeah.
So the natural order of things should have been you going to court.
Absolutely.
But a lot of people don't have faith in the Nigerian courts. Now we're going to go on a short break, and when we come back, you're going to tell us what your experience was at the Court of Appeal. We'll be right back, folks, right after this quick commercial break.
Thank you.
Hi, folks. If you're just joining us, welcome to the show. My name is Habib Enyala, as usual, and tonight on Just Banter, we are discussing Nigerian politics and the APC with a very intriguing guest. And just before the break, we were actually talking about the challenges of internal democracy in Nigerian political parties and what his own personal challenges were within the parties and within the judicial system. His name is Alhaji Usman Tuggar, and I'm going to bring it back into the studio now to continue from where we stopped earlier on. Alhaji Usman.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. So, you went to the High Court, and then you went to the Appeal Court. The story of the Appeal Court is rather intriguing, considering the fact that the president of the Appeal Court happened to be the wife of
the person I contested against.
The person you contested against. Is that a movie?
So I didn't really expect much from the appeal court. I actually didn't expect much from the courts in the first place anyway. The person I contested against when I was in secondary school, my father contested for the NPN primaries in 1982. And this same person is the man that my father beat in 1982 to yeah,
okay,
election
now I get it.
Senate in 1983. So I mean, fighting against a man in his 80s is quite disturbing. So his wife is obviously the president. She stepped down now. She was the president of the Court of Appeal. So I really didn't expect much. I mean,
yeah.
The president of the Court of Appeal is a very powerful person. So I didn't really expect much. I went to the Federal High Court. My case was kept there for quite a very long time. They kept adjourning for a long time. Then after which they threw it out. We went to the Court of Appeal. It was thrown out, I think within a week, we were out of there. We went to the Supreme Court, and the day we went to the Supreme Court, it was supposed to be to get a date to come back for our case to be heard, but our case was thrown out the same day that we went to get a date. So, I mean,
based on that same statute of limitations.
Well, we were asked to actually withdraw our case. We went to get a date for a hearing at the Supreme Court, and they asked us to withdraw our case. We said we weren't going to, but they threw it out anyway. So, I mean, you can, there's very little faith in the system, unfortunately. I mean, I can't say, I cannot come out openly and say there's foul play. I mean, I feel there's foul play, but...
why can't you come out openly and say there's foul play?
Well, because, I mean, it's a judicial system, This is the last point for the common man, So some cases, if you look at them, they're good cases. The judges do the right thing. Some, they don't do the right thing. But hey, you can't win them all. So that's how it is.
Okay, one associated question. Did the president of the Court of Appeal recuse herself from that case?
Well, she wasn't the one that handled the case, actually.
Right. Okay.
It was another judge, sorry, that was on that case. But I mean, it was so fast that it was unbelievable. But
I mean, that's like a whirlwind, because what you're telling me now, like I said, I was asking, is that a movie?
It was expected. We were expecting it anyway. So
because this is really like a script. So your father ran against this person, this senator, who is now a senator, I believe.
He's now a senator.
Yeah. Your father ran against him in 1982. You said.
Yes, primaries, NPN primaries.
The NPN primaries
for this same senatorial seat.
This same senatorial seat.
The person my father beat in the NPN primaries.
In the NPN primaries.
And my father went to the Senate in 1983. So it's the same guy, So
and you now beat him in 2018.
Yes.
For the same seat.
Absolutely.
But the case was switched.
We found another way of taking.
We found another way, and for you to now take the legal angle, to reclaim your mandate. His wife happened to be a justice.
Absolutely.
Of a court that you had to pass through.
Absolutely.
Now, this is a Nollywood, no, not even Nollywood. This qualifies for a Hollywood script. I'm telling you.
This is how things work. Sometimes you win some, you lose some. That's how I see it anyway. I went in there to help my people. Unfortunately, we've reached a stage in the country where to be able to help, to get jobs for your people, to bring development, you have to have a political seat to be able to draw these projects to your area, to get them jobs, employment. We have thousands of youth that are unemployed. You need to have a seat or some sort of political standing to be able to do that. Now, these were the reasons why I actually ran for the Senate. And I was of the firm opinion that I could have been of help. I'd been in politics for quite a long time, and I've been doing my bit, so this is it. So as a Muslim and a firm believer in faith, my prayers have always been, may God choose what is best for me. And I believe what he has chosen for me is what is best, so I think this is best.
So do you think that, now that there have been a lot of issues in the APC, and that has led to the exit of the former chairman, Adams Oshiomhole, do you think that things are going to turn around now in the APC? Because quite a few people feel that the APC is imploding, because there are quite a lot of people decamping from the APC, and they're not even saying where they're going.
Well, you see, we have to tell ourselves the truth. I do not think since 1999 there has been any party that has come with such goodwill like the APC did in 2015. We came with such goodwill. Everybody believed in the change that was coming. And unfortunately for us to lose 6 states within 4 years, that goes to show you that there's something seriously wrong.
Do you think it was goodwill, or they were just protest votes?
Well, I think it was, some were protest votes, but a lot of it was goodwill. There was firm belief. Like I told you, what happened in 2015 was a movement, that had been building up for a very long time. We'd been at it, nooks and crannies of this country, saying change is coming. Change did come. But for us to lose 6 states in 4 years, now that goes to show you that the party wasn't being run well, unfortunately. A lot of protest votes took place in the last elections. People were unhappy. You can imagine somebody like me, after what happened to me in my primary elections, I'm in court. I'm usually out there, in the trenches, going from ballot box to ballot box, saying vote for the APC. But here I was, I had been, shafted by the same party I had been struggling and fighting for, and just to get us to win elections. So, it's very painful. It was a painful thing that happened to me. So, a lot of people were aggrieved. I know quite a number of people that were in this struggle with us that the same thing happened to, So a lot of people were disenfranchised and unhappy, and they really didn't care to go out there and fight for the APC anymore.
So for someone like yourself, who has had this experience and you know what it feels like, and a host of others as well, how do you intend to address this issue of the lack of internal democracy in these parties? Because if that doesn't happen, from what we have heard so far, from a few guests that have come on, if you do not have a proper internal democracy in those parties, you will never get good quality leadership in Nigeria, because it is the candidate that is fielded that's going to be there.
You see, you cannot get proper leadership, good leadership, followership also, because if you don't have the right candidate, then a lot of people are not going to be happy with who it is, because he's just been placed there. As you can see now, before I traveled, there was a recall. The people from my constituency were actually printing forms and trying to recall back the senator.
They're trying to recall him?
Yes, because they are not happy. They're not
That's
happy with
interesting.
what's going on. You see, so once you have people that are aggrieved and they know that you use the back door to get there, they will never follow you. And you need people to lead, you need people to follow.
Oh, yeah,
Support.
definitely.
So if they know you cut corners and you didn't really earn their mandate and their respect and trust, then obviously you cannot achieve anything. So this is where it starts from, internal democracy within the parties. So I think the right steps have been taken now by putting a caretaker committee there and saying, okay, let us start afresh. Let's see how these things will go. So it depends on who comes and what kind of mindset they come with to bring people together. Because at some point, I think the APC started feeling like it was doing you a favor by allowing you to associate yourself with the party. Meanwhile, you're the one that is doing them a favor because you're going out there, you're garnering votes, you're telling people to come and go stick and stay with the APC. So for as long as you feel you're doing somebody a favor simply because he's running for office, then, I mean, you have it all wrong.
That's a very strong indictment of the party.
Well, I'm telling you that because till tomorrow, after my mandate was taken, nobody has reached out to me till today. Nobody has reached out to me to say, oh, we're sorry, this is what happened, but okay, let's talk, let's have a discussion. This is how you gain people's confidence and bring them back.
So this caretaker committee that you said, and whoever the group that's going to come, when you say it depends on their mindset, then that means there's still no way forward, because what that basically means is that they are not carrying along all the stakeholders that need to be carried along from inception.
You have to give them the benefit of the doubt because, I mean, we're talking of the past 3 weeks. It's just starting. So
okay,
you have to wait to see, what are the steps that they take towards fixing the problems that we have within the party. So you have to give them time to start, and then let's see where they're headed and how they handle issues and how they reach out to people.
Because what I find worrisome, in all of this is that if somebody like yourself who has committed so much, at some point you even sold your properties to be able to take care of some of the people in your constituency, from what we have gathered. If somebody like yourself has put in that much effort, and then you now feel this aggrieved, is it a case of the PDP has a better internal democracy structure than the APC?
Well, as of the last election, I think so.
Wow.
Since when they had their own screening exercises, they actually gave you a certificate saying you had been screened. Because in so many cases, what the Adams Oshomole led party did was they refused to give screening certificates to anybody. So they just come to you and say you were screened out. As you can see now, a sitting governor from his state, Edo State, they just said he's been screened out.
How did they manage that?
So now these are the kind of things I'm talking about.
How did they manage to not have a process in place for such a political party?
But this is what I'm saying. This is you see, when you have one individual running the whole show and nobody else has a say in it, then you have a huge problem. I mean, a party is supposed to be
a party. That's what a party means. It's a convergence.
That's what it is. A convergence of people with like minds coming together, to form government. This is what it's supposed to be, but it wasn't. If you're practicing democracy and you do not have internal democracy, then
you don't have a foundation at all in the first place.
Thank you very much. So this is it. So I mean, it got very messy. And it was actually a build-up because it had been going on before the elections. they were screening out people because nobody had a certificate. So they just come and say, everybody, if you have 7 candidates, they'll just tell you, okay, 6 have been screened out, and there's only one that passed the screening exercise.
So this now takes us back to the previous, guests on the show, them talking about this internal democracy issue. Why is it a case of, for the political parties, you don't have people who will stand up and say, no, put the proper processes in place first before we move forward? Because that seems to have transcended into the polity itself. Because Nigerians actually don't get up and say, no, if you're not doing things the right way, then we don't agree. It's true. That's what you get. So take, for instance, you're talking about the recall process. There's never been a successful recall process in Nigerian history.
They cannot be, because the hurdles are too many. It's almost an impossibility. It's almost an impossibility. So it's going to be very difficult.
So if it doesn't start from the past, that's why I was, wondering that, look, if it was a case of you had to wait until a particular group of people were put in place first, before all the stakeholders were now gathered, then there's still going to be a breakdown in communication, because you have to carry the stakeholders from day one. It's just like running any project.
Absolutely.
If you don't get the requirements from all the stakeholders, you don't even have an idea of where the project is going to go in the first place.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at
So
all.
how did they intend to to be successful in trying to reorganize the party?
Well, I think you see, it starts from state to state. I think this is what they're trying to do. I mean, we all have leaders. I can see they're reaching out to the Asiwajus and the BC Akandes, Baba BC Akande, and so on. Now, this is where it starts from. These are the heavyweights in the party, and then maybe it will trickle down and come down to other stakeholders also. So I think they will actually try to go state by state before. I really don't know. I cannot tell you, but I'm thinking that this is what they will do. So I hope they're able to do that for the sake of the party.
Where are we going to see you in 2023?
Well, for now, I really haven't made that decision. I'm still thinking about it.
Why? Are you disillusioned?
Well, I'll tell you this much. The way I see things, I don't see them, really. I don't see things clearly for now. I don't know where we're going for now. The party needs to come back together, put itself together. Let's hope they can put it back together in time, reach out to the stakeholders, do the right thing, and then maybe.
Hello, seems I've lost Alhaji Tuggar there for a second.
It's still a bit too soon for me.
Oh, okay. It's still a bit too soon for you. No, because you see, so from what you have said so far, like I said, there's a lot of similarities with the other two guests, who also happens to have come out of the APC.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not come out in that sense, but one actually left the APC. The other one took a step back. He's still in the APC, but he's taking a step back to try to see where things are going to go. And you're saying the same thing as well.
Absolutely. You see, the issue is that I cannot just come out now after what has transpired with me. Yeah. Nobody has still reached out to me to even say to me, look, okay, fine. This is what happened to you. We're sorry. Or, we still want you on board. Now, you cannot stay where you're not wanted. It's a house. I have stuck to my guns. I've never left my party. It's always been AMPP, CPC, APC. I've never for once faltered. I've never left. I've always stuck here because I don't think that it's a good it's a gentlemanly thing to be jumping from party to party. I feel
But Nigerian politicians find it very easy. I mean, they just cross the living room and they're in another party.
Well, for me, I find it's not very honorable. You know, I don't think that I should just move parties because of contesting elections. I think it's wrong. I think you should stay and stick to your guns and wait, you know, and try to build what you have. But the way I have been treated, obviously, is very painful. I'm not happy about it. But I've still stuck to my guns. I've stayed within the party. I'm not happy with it, but I've stayed. And I'll try to see, now that there are new people on board, I'll try to see, okay, which direction are we heading, you know, before I make a decision. So I'm still sitting and watching and waiting.
And waiting.
like your other people.
Everybody just seems, you know, to be sitting and waiting to see what happens.
Well, when you get burnt, you have to move a bit back, not put your hands in the fire, your fingers in the fire right away. You have to wait and see.
So one of the other guests was talking about a movement outside of the official parties and trying to change the narrative. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that would be a very difficult thing. I have a bit of experience in that. When we started the CPC, it was a fresh party, and we contested elections with it. And I will tell you, it was not easy. It was very difficult. You know, we had a really difficult time. I mean, within a short period of time, we were able to galvanize people and mobilize and so on. And we did quite well in the elections. But I do not think that is a very good idea for now. Nigeria has evolved in its own way into a two-party state, the APC and the PDP. And
almost naturally.
Thank you. And the PDP is gaining a lot of ground. Now, the other parties only have, a couple of members of the State Assembly, a couple of members of the House of Reps, and maybe one or two senators.
Yeah.
So I really do not see that happening. I think one of these parties is still going to be more relevant than the other and win the forthcoming elections. So I think we're going to be a two-party state.
So do you think the APC can win the next elections?
Well, that's a difficult question. I think the APC needs to get its house in order. PDP has gained a lot of ground. Now, if we're not careful, in the APC, they're going to take Edo. And if we're not careful, what if they take Ondo? Because we're almost at par with the PDP now. The APC is almost at par with the PDP in the number of states that they have. So, I mean, the next elections, and it also all depends on who the candidates are. So they bring out, everybody brings out their best candidate, and then we'll see who takes it from there. But what we hope and pray for is that whoever comes out of these parties is somebody that will come and make a difference and a change and move this country forward, because we really need to move forward. You know, we've been left far behind. We've been dilly-dallying for such a long time. We need this change, and we need it now. I mean, we need it yesterday. You can see our educational system is broken down, high poverty rates, no healthcare. I mean, we're in a terrible state. And worst of all is this security. Every day there are hundreds of people dying.
The issue of security.
Dying every day. I mean, it's very, very disturbing. You cannot drive from Abuja to Kaduna now without thinking of kidnappers. The Niger Delta is the same. The security situation is appalling.
It's quite interesting because I saw quite a few pictures a little while back of generals on the train going to Kaduna from Abuja. They were avoiding traveling by road. So if the military
They're probably doing that because the road is very bad right now. It's being fixed.
Okay. No, but it doesn't. But it doesn't change. It doesn't change. It doesn't change the fact that there's a massive security issue.
There is. We have a huge security challenge that needs to be tackled head on. I mean, the Northwest now is becoming as bad as the Northeast was. You're talking of hundreds of people a day. I mean, this is what is most disturbing for now. You know, people are dying every day, and I mean, something needs to be done about it.
Do you think it's a case of poverty?
Well, poverty is a part of it, but the Nigerian has always been a very resilient and proud person. So poverty has always been there. Our people were happy enough to just farm and eat what they farm. But we have come to a new age where we have bandits going all over, you know, stealing people's cows and so on and so forth. But it's not even the stealing anymore. They just come and they just kill everybody in a hamlet, make off with everything they have. So it's gone beyond that now. It's very disturbing.
It is. It is quite disturbing, and a lot of people have had, you know, mixed feelings about that issue that you just mentioned now, which is, you know, bandits, you know, going to hamlets, killing people, stealing cows, and all whatnot.
Absolutely.
Nobody truly knows, you know, for now, that is it a case of the headsmen are armed illegally and they are the ones killing people, or is it a case of there are bandits who have, you know, propelled the headsmen to get arms and defend themselves? So it's all murky waters, and we hope that someday there'll be some clarity, you know, in the matter.
We hope and pray so, but it needs to come to an end as soon as possible, you know, because it's taking too long now. It's getting out of hand.
Getting out of hand? It is out of hand.
Hundreds of people a day. I mean, every day you wake up, it's another new case. So something needs to be done drastically and immediately about this. This is what is most disturbing right now. This is the most crucial time in our country right now. The security situation is really appalling, unfortunately.
So a final word before we go. Alhaji Usman Tuggar, what, you know, would you say, you know, if you had the opportunity to the Northern Governors Forum on this issue of insecurity?
Well, I think they need to come together and act as one. You know, this is one of the problems we've always had. You know, I mean, even within the security agencies, they have still not come together and act as one. You know, this is what we need from them. The governors need to stand up to this insecurity, come together. I mean, this is a time where we need to say, okay, you know what, we've put everything aside now. We should stop talking about all these other things. I don't think any other thing is as important. And come together and say, okay, this is what we need to tackle now, and we need to put an end to it right away. Now, after tackling the security issue and stopping what's going on, then you can go back to other issues of governance. But you need people to be able to govern. If there are no people, there's nobody to govern.
There's nobody to govern.
Without people, you know. So, and the people are being killed. So, this is a priority, you know. This is what I think anyway.
So, just a quick yes or no. Do you think state police is a good idea? The picture seems to have frozen. I think we've lost Alhaji Tuggar very briefly there. Anyways, this has been, you know, an interesting evening talking to Alhaji Tuggar, and, you know, him telling us about this Hollywood-like script, you know, of what's going on in terms of internal democracy in Nigerian political parties. And also, he feels, you know, really aggrieved. Hello, Alhaji Tuggar. Sorry, we lost you there for that second. Yes. So did you hear my question?
I don't think state police is a good idea, because you need the governors, emperors. They wield so much power already. Think of them being able to holding the police, it's going to be a huge problem. And besides, they can hardly pay salaries. So how do they pay the police?
That's a good point. That's a very, very good point. Alhaji Tuggar, it's been interesting. And like I was just telling the viewers when we lost you there for a second, this, entire saga that you went through is like a Hollywood script. And I can't imagine the amount of people who have gone through what you have gone through. I'm just grateful that we are able to get people like yourself who don't like talking to the press to come on the show and talk. You are like the fourth person that is press shy that has come on so far. So we feel very grateful.
Well, it's not about being press shy. It's just about, being, not being asked. If we are asked, you come on and you say your piece. Why not? So
it's been a quiet person.
It's been a great experience. I've learned a lot from it. I've learned a lot from, they say anybody that has not gone into politics has not started learning things about life.
So, yeah, true.
You can see the learning experiences that we've gotten out of politics. So there you go.
That's fantastic. So as usual, we always overrun on this show because it's always so interesting. But for the first time, we are actually within our extra allocated time.
Brilliant.
By the producers. It doesn't take away, how intriguing this particular episode has been. I could ask you tons and tons and tons of questions, but I am staggered. I'm flabbergasted about the entire saga. I was like, really? You need to write a book about this. This needs to, be a movie for people to see, for people to understand how deep the issues in Nigerian politics are and how much effort we need to start putting into changing the dynamics in Nigeria when it comes to Nigerian politics. So Alhaji Tuggar, we hope to have you on the show again sometime. And I hope this time we will see Senator Usman Tuggar when next you're on the show.
May Allah choose what is best for us all.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure talking to you.
It's been our pleasure as well. Thank you so much. You have a great evening and a great weekend ahead.
Same to you. Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye.
So it's been an interesting evening with Alhaji Tuggar. Unfortunately, some of the comments just coming in now. So all politicians sound saying till they get into office. That's Chinji Dole. Chinji Dole says again. Okay, I think I'll just put it on the screen so that the viewers can see it. So Chinji Dole says all politicians sound same till they get into office. And then he says again, we have been disappointed by them one too many times, even by those we never thought they wouldn't. Chinji Dole, yes, I agree with you in a lot of ways. But the truth is this. The lack of internal, democracy in these political parties is what has thrown the type of, leaders that we have had so far. That's what we have been hearing now. These are things that were not coming out before. They're just coming out now. People normally were not talking about what was going on in those political parties. It was left to the politicians because they were a club of some sort. But now that we are having a change in guard, a change in the dynamics of those political parties, we're beginning to see, people standing up for what they believe in. They are beginning to talk about what they see that is being done wrong in these political parties. And in my opinion, I think that is the first necessary step towards making those changes and getting things, working the right way. Too much damage has been done, in Nigeria. Like one of our guests said previously on the show, he said, the military at some point were priding themselves on holding bloodless coups. And now politicians are here and gunshots are being fired. And another one said there were more bullets than votes cast in an election in a particular state. So that tells us, that there's a lot that is wrong. We need to start doing something. And it's this type of people that we keep talking to who are taking the effort, they're taking out the time, And they wish that, things just were not happening the way they were happening, but it is happening. It's the reality. And you heard all he said. It sounded like a Hollywood movie. I mean, where does that happen except Nigeria? But of course, in the world, sometimes things like that happen, but you never get to hear about it. That's why we talk about things that we hear about, but we never see. In closing tonight, like we always do, we always talk about two things, in not necessarily in order of importance, but they're equally important. The first is the issue of COVID-19. It is still very real. We'll implore you all, please keep a safe distance. 2 meters is the required distance or the recommended distance. Wear a mask. Wash your hands regularly. You don't need to use sanitizer and all that all the time if you don't want to. If you wash your hands regularly enough, at least you should be safe. Don't make any unnecessary trips. I love traveling, but I'm stuck, but I'm enjoying myself, I'm doing what I love, so it's fine. But you don't need to travel if you don't need to. Stay at home if you can. Work from home if you can. If you can't, take the necessary measures when you go out. Now, on the issue of rape, our campaign is still on. We're still talking about it. We're still driving it. And that fantastic artist I told you about, what time I'm always playing, her track, TY. You can catch her, on Instagram at official TY. She's on Spotify and all that. Her video is dropping very soon. And because we support her so much, we support the campaign against rape. We hope to bring her on the show very soon, herself, the management, and 1 or 2 people who are also on the issue of rape, who have been fighting against this for so long. They're going to come on the show. We're going to be talking about rape. Like we said, we're going to be doing it at least once a month. We'll be talking about it so that, it's constantly in people's conscience. Remember, your mama and a woman too. It doesn't mean that men are not being raped, but usually it is a case of it is children, male children, female children. They are very vulnerable. Be careful who you leave your children with. Be careful with your children generally. Keep an eye on them, watch them. If you have not watched the show where we had a qualified social worker who was talking about the signs to look out for to know if your child has a problem, go and watch it. It's fantastic. We did it about 3-4 weeks ago, and she was excellent, in the advice and the tips that she gave. It's very important for parents to have an idea of what to look out for with their children. So we're going to call it a night, and we hope to see you on Sunday, same time, 8 p.m. And like we always say, stay safe, have a great evening, and enjoy the weekend. Thank you. Have a great night. Bye.